Hello and welcome back to Chris. Tomb Raider, the latest of the video game movies, which are often seen as dreaded releases, but this one I was kinda excited for. Is it a film worth making? Does it do the Tomb Raider games justice? Is it even worth watching? Let's find out. Let's start off with the first good thing, and thankfully that is Alicia Vikander as Lara Croft. You know, the main star of this whole thing. I think the most exciting thing about Lara here is that she's not just a copy and paste character of the 2013 Lara Croft, despite what the costume and setting may say. Alicia Vikander's Lara Croft is a much more confident Lara, and one that feels that she has to prove herself to others for what she is worth. I still prefer the 2013 Lara, as I found her more relatable in her reserved nature and strong focus on the one thing she is passionate about: tomb raiding or archaeology or something like that, I don't know. But this is what I wanted this film to do. I wanted it to differentiate itself from the games and such, and the actual game it's adapting, and kind of mold itself into its own thing, so I kind of like that. Alicia Vikander's Lara kind of takes the grounded Lara Croft approach of the 2013 reboot, with her emotional state, her strength to push onward, and determination for what is right, and adds in quite a lot of the classic Lara with a lot of the wit, confidence, and show-offiness. Of course, these are two varied tones when you look at the games, and the two tones do kind of clash in a way, especially with the film itself taking a more serious approach, but it does kind of help the film to stand on its own ground in a way. But did the rest of the film hold up along with this? Hey, that's why we talk about the bad stuff, and the first bad stuff we have is number one bad stuff. You may remember that I was kind of worried when I did the trailer review that the film itself would focus too much on the setting up of Lara Croft as a character and the whole plot whilst still based in London, before it actually starts to get to the parts where it's actually interesting and good, and it kinda did just that. Thankfully, I don't think it took up over half an hour worth of the running time, but it does seem like quite a while until the film actually picks up pace and starts going with it. Of course, I want character development and to know what's going on, you know, in the actual plot and all, but when the film itself is already sticking so closely to the actual tone of the actual 2013 game, which started its story off already on the endurance boat, and simply utilised a simple montage of sorts with Lara Croft herself narrating over the top of it, and developing her a bit while still getting us into the know-how of the whole situation. The route the film takes in setting everything up in a half an hour at London kind of feels redundant in a way because of this. It plays off more like the filmmakers just kind of like wanting to be like, oh no, we've got to do our own thing to this, we've got to put our own spin onto the games, and decided on this 15 to 30 minute first act to, you know, set everything up there. But the problem is it's not actually that interesting, and there's quite a lot of bad expository dialogue that does kind of plague these early scenes. Don't get me wrong, there's quite a few good things in that first 30 minutes as well, such as this stuff, and introducing slightly newer elements such as Lara's financial and living situation, which is kind of different to the actual games themselves. It kind of takes its own route there, and it's kind of interesting, and it's nice to see an actual new take on Lara Croft and her living situation, which are all welcome additions to the series. But again, it's only really when the film finally catches up to the very beginning of the game on the endurance boat where it actually starts to kind of feel like we're actually getting somewhere with it. Second good point is that I am kind of glad that they cut down on the unnecessary supporting cast characters from the original 2013 game. I mean, they had their purpose in that narrative and serviced Lara Croft's character arc in that particular narrative, but removing the majority of them for the film actually kind of made sense and helped us keep up with the much needed shorter narrative that the film required, because, you know, it's a 2-hour film adapting something that's like 10 to 15 hours long in terms of gaming narrative length, and this consequently allows for us to only have to focus on like a handful of characters, I'd say, in the film. And while they're not all particularly well developed, they still kind of work to the plot, and even if they are kind of one-dimensional for the most part. Though that shorter narrative definitely took a toll on a lot of what worked best in the game. I think the most obvious thing is that Lara's journey of survival is actually very minimalistic in the film, and that was a large part of the game, and it was actually my favourite part of that game. You really felt like you were getting into Lara's skin. She's barely alone in the film, and she doesn't really come across as that vulnerable at all, really. A lot of her actually deciding to take action is reduced to like a 10 or 15 minute portion of the film. I definitely feel like cutting down on the opening of the film, like the first 30 minutes, would really help benefit a lot of these other things that are actually more interesting, such as the stuff going on the island, and all of Lara's like survival instincts. That's the sort of thing that I was looking forward to seeing, and it's kind of a lot shorter than I actually wanted it to be. It kind of feels like they just gloss over it in a way. And consequently, because of that, I don't feel like we get to know Lara as like an instinctive person as much as I wanted to. As in the games, Lara's relationship with her father does actually play a large part into the film as well. They do kind of take a slightly different path with the film though, and for the better I'd say. But then again, whilst they definitely do have a few scenes where Alicia Vikander is allowed to shine with a lot of good emotion towards her father, the film does kind of ruin this for us as the audience by showing us far too many flashbacks. It's a little overboard and it's rather annoying when you've seen just a different angle of the same type of flashback like 3 or 4 times. And it does kind of get to a point where the film starts to feel a little bit manipulative and a little bit contrived in an emotional sense. You know, like it kind of feels like the filmmakers are like, if we do this little flashback, right, with the father, they'll cry. Yeah. You know, it kind of feels like that, but it doesn't feel natural to the actual plotting of the film. Like I said, I think there are a lot of strong scenes in the film that actually work with their relationship between the two of them, but the scenes do work best when the actors are allowed to express with their emotions and body language, as opposed to when they open their mouth and start talking, because this is where you realise how bad the script is. The dialogue in it just makes the scenes feel so weak and cheap, in contrast to the production value that's actually there. It's just they say so much obvious stuff and so much cliche dialogue that you've heard like 50 times before, and it's just so unnatural for the most part. Yeah, unfortunately I do really feel like the script is actually the thing holding the film back from being anything better than just a video game movie, as the actors actually do seem to be doing their best with what they've got, and the directing itself isn't really that bad either. We have some good character interactions, and we have some good action set pieces with a nice pace and flow to them, but at the same time I do kind of wish they held back on the excessive use of dark imagery and handheld shaky cam, as they do make a lot of the action actually really difficult to keep up with. But yeah, I would say the film itself has a good pace overall, especially once we're actually off on the adventure. I've seen a lot of people claim that the first hour or so is actually the best part of the film, but I would actually argue that the second half is actually the better half. I'd actually say that the film picks up heavily where it gets to the point where the critics are calling it as going a bit over the top and crazy. This is actually where I had the most fun. Yeah. It really gets into the tomb raiding stuff here, and it's not exactly that different from what we've seen in previous games or anything. It doesn't go over the top to a point where it's like, alright, I don't believe that from a Tomb Raider game, you know? You've seen this sort of thing before, so you kind of, I don't know what you expect other than this, you know? It's just some fun, nice Tomb Raider craziness. Though the film does end when it just gets going. When it really feels like it's starting to be its own thing and get fun and entertaining, it ends. In retrospect, I'd actually say that it's really a lot of build-up for something that doesn't really pay off in the end, and something that's just over very quickly. There was also some cool video game references just in general. There was a really cool segment where Lara had to do a bit of stealth, and it really played out like the stealth mechanics in the Tomb Raider game. It was really cool, I really liked that. And it was quite tense as well. But unfortunately, the film still does retain itself from ever being anything other than just another video game adaptation of a really good game, and not really anything more than that. The antagonist was also very weak in my opinion, and incredibly predictable. I mean, yeah, the actor goes for it, and that's definitely evident in the film, and is sometimes fun to watch, but his actions and things he does in the film are not really anything we haven't seen in a film with a better, more compelling villain. So yeah, I would definitely say that Lara herself has the best character development overall, and I would actually say that I would look forward to watching a follow-up film with her in the lead. So yes, in conclusion, I actually had a lot of fun with the film. Yes, it does have a ton of problems, but it's not really anything that we haven't seen in other video game adaptations in general. And while maybe not my favourite Lara Croft, the filmmakers definitely do have a really strong interpretation of Lara themselves, and definitely have space to further develop her into their own take on the character pretty much completely. So, my overall rating is 6.7 out of 10. Yeah, whilst not exactly replacing the actual video game it's based on, I was still pleasantly surprised by the film. I just really hope they can improve with another standalone film. And can I just say, well done for casting someone with the exact same height measurements as Lara Croft from the video game reboot. 5'6". Because I'd be really mad if you didn't. Just kidding. Or am I? Yeah, thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys kind of enjoyed the video. Sorry if it was a bit rambly. I found it very hard to keep up with this. I actually haven't made a video in a few days, so it was kind of a bit weird for me to go back to making one. So maybe the pacing is off or something. If you guys enjoyed the video, why not leave a like and subscribe? That'd be pretty cool. So yeah, make sure to check out the other Lara Croft stuff I've got, because I have a lot of Lara Croft stuff on here. And hopefully, I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.